like 6 moms and 3 girls with hula hoops, but they all bought merch and were like the nicest people ever. So like, was that the worst show or the best show? I don't know. But
people were playing pool well.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Welcome to the 51st episode of the Cast That Ends Creation. I'm your host, Chris Deering. This is a show where I interview bands and public figures from the mathcore and mathcore adjacent communities. If you beautiful people in chat have any questions or comments, drop them in. I'll try to read them aloud. If you like this up for $5, you get access to some exclusive emotes, as well as access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and streaming services. If you're watching this on YouTube, listening to this in your car, and have no idea what I'm talking about, the show is first shown live on Twitch. Join us every Sunday and Wednesday at twitch.tv/thecastthatenscreation for the live cast. With that out of the way, let me introduce our guest tonight, who is on top of the deathcore scene back in the day. Welcome in Belie My Burial. How's it going, guys?
What's going on?
Tell us who you are, what you did in the band.
Oh, you know what I mean? What's up? My name's Tim. Everyone calls me Duck. I've been known by Duck for my entire life. I play bass. And I load in and load out. That's pretty much, I do all the heavy lifting, play bass. There you go.
I was not aware of the nickname, so that's great.
Yes, literally start from birth to, Duck. Yeah, it's going to be forever, so quack, quack.
I'm Wyatt. When we started the band, I played guitar, and then I moved to vocals.
I'm Adam. I've played guitar since the beginning of the band.
Alrighty. So it looks like you guys started in 2005. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Take us back to that time. How'd you guys get together?
We were all in high school together. We had kind of all had like our first band before Belie in some way or another.
Refund?
Oh, wow.
We had our first garage band together.
First band I was ever in, the first band, cover band.
Ooh, what kind of covers are we doing?
We did.
I'm going to tell you right now, because fucking, I hate it. I remember you can hear how much I hated playing it. Jet, Are You Gonna Be My Girl?
Yep.
You know,
Classic.
I had to play the bass part because it starts out with the bass, and I played that so angrily and offensively. It was awful, and and it was basically what? Jet, Kings of Leon,
Prince,
Blink-182, and Anti-Flag.
Because we had a pop punk guy in the band.
Pop punk, and then me, little angry, Anti-Flag, government punk, and then you and Ivans loved the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix, and that's all it was.
We had classic rock there.
Yes,
so.
Yes.
Honestly, it sounds like a solid set list. Like, I don't see any problems with that at all. It all works perfectly.
I have a CD somewhere. It's not getting released anymore.
You have a CD? Oh, dude, you gotta release it. Come on, man.
We had merch stickers and stuff. Yeah.
For like a sixth grade pre-homecoming party, we were pretty.
It was a Halloween party, and there was an Aurora. That was the Aurora whatever thing.
Dude, holy shit! Put that CD out for real. Put that out on YouTube or something. That'd be amazing.
that was the night though that because we were all aware of each other because
that was where I met you.
Yeah.
We first started talking, and then hey, you play bass? Do you want to play in a band? Because we all every band needs a bass player. That's just usually how it works.
Yeah,
hey.
Wyatt was actually at the party.
I was at the party.
Yeah,
and I was really I saw these guys in a band, and I was that's exactly I want to be in a band. I want to do a band. So I was blown away. I thought that they were sick. It was so sick.
8th grade, I don't even know.
But we didn't have a lot of Adam ended up joining shortly after that. Me and Duck kind of started a band around that time, and Adam actually joined the only other band, and we were freshmen, and this other band were all seniors.
They were way cooler than us.
And they had their shit together, and they were the big band. In our high school and even kind of our town.
Do they have is it a name we'll know, or is it just some?
No,
it
sounds like a name you would know.
The band was called After Drama, and it sounded a lot like Census Fail. Basically, it was we were in 9th grade, so this would have been 2004,
2003, 2004. Yeah.
Okay.
It was good pop, like post-hardcore, like pop. It was sick. Like it was really good.
What was it? Nikki Six?
Nikki Six.
Nikki Six. Or yeah.
So yeah, like
Doesn't sound
around 2005, like we all were like playing in bands within our high school, and like in 2005, we all started to like really get into like metal, like the Victory Records, Trust Kill. Like we were going to shows, we were playing shows at this point, and like with MySpace and like everything that was really like everything kind of culminated around that time. And like we've always like liked and listened to like a lot of stuff, but we all just fell for like the metalcore, you know, Killswitch, Under Oath, like the heavier stuff, Darkest Hour, the heavier stuff that was coming out around that time. Bleeding Through, 18 Visions.
Dude, Bleeding Through is one of my first metalcore bands, actually, dude. That shit went hard.
Yes.
And like I went kind of back into like assemble the band mode, and I was like, let's make a metalcore band. And it actually came together like insanely easy. Like the three of us were going to school together.
We had 2 singers.
And Adam had been jamming with our friend Jason, and they kind of like were like Adam and Jason were like kind of the first to like start jamming like metalcore, metal like riffs. And then I was like, oh shit, that's sick. And I kind of like picked up on what they were doing. And like Duck had been like coming up on like punk and like hardcore punk and stuff like that. And, you know, so we all like were going to these crazy like metal shows that were just, you know, the scene was just starting to get like popping crazy. And we had like in 9th grade, like that year or a year before that, like our core group of friends kind of like split after freshman year, and like 2 of our best friends went to like a high school, like a neighboring high school that was like probably like, you know, like 10 miles from like where we were going to school. And so like there were bands and there was like a scene starting to take place over there, and we basically like between going to shows and knowing people from this other school and having friends from this other school district, like assembled the first lineup of Belie.
So what does Belie My Burial mean, actually?
Technically to postpone death.
Yes.
Yeah.
To cheat or fake death, kind of?
To cheat death, to not die.
It's
Okay.
alliteration.
I remember.
How'd y'all come together? How'd you come to that name?
Literally all we wanted to do at the time was have a band name that had, like, used alliteration and was like easy to like just Googleable, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's how you remember shit really well, man. Belie My Burial is a pretty memorable name, like Cannibal Corpse, you know.
That's an honor.
Yeah. We always get like from the inception though, like the name was another thing that we almost were running away from in a way, because it's just, it never really rolls off the tongue when you're telling someone the band name.
Yeah.
When you're saying the band name, you always get what afterward.
Yeah.
You say the name and someone's what?
What? Yeah, okay. DMB.
Yeah.
Belie.
I always really liked the way that it looked like on the logo and like written out there, like what Adam said with like the alliteration and everything. And like I remember we were just sitting in my like side room with the computer like at my parents' house, and we were all there. I think we had practiced like earlier in the day, and like we didn't want to like spend too much time on it. So I just remember like saying it. We had a couple other names with like Burial and some other shit, and once we came up with it, we were just like, fuck it, like that's the name.
It's cool. Sounds good.
So your first release was Persephone in 2007. I actually got the art right there. Boom. So I would say at this point you sounded like more like a melodic metalcore band with death metal vocals on them, like something like Unearth or As I Lay Dying, but straight up death metal vocals. You have a few brutal moments, but it's very melodic. What were your influences going into this?
Mainly for me, I tried not to be derivative of anything I was listening to at the time, but I've been listening to a lot of It Dies Today, I remember.
You can totally see that.
And yeah, just anything that was kind of like Swedish influenced. Definitely was kind of the repertoire for me, writing that stuff. And as far as the vocals go, we had a vocalist who just was at the time, especially for, around this area, was considered, just great at what he did. So we never messed with anything that he wanted to do. So the highs that you hear, like, it's just, that was what he wanted to do. We never got in the way of that ever. And
it worked. It got over.
Yeah, half the people probably that have heard of us prefer that era and like are nostalgic for that, era of the band. Just the very first stuff that we did, largely probably because of that vocal style. I think.
It kind of seems like y'all might not have like found your sound yet. Like y'all were still trying to get everything figured out. I mean, y'all were saying this is basically your first band, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you got to remember too, like, what's on the screen is like, that's actually like the demo. The demo is what's on the new re-release, the B-side of the record that Secret Swarm just put out. Shout out Secret Swarm for also making this happen. And like Brett, who ended up being our drummer around like 2008, 2009 for like pretty much like the second life of the band. He was like the go-to guy. And like back then, like home production and like production in general, like people got to remember, like it wasn't like it is today where you can just have like a little Focusrite and, a gaming PC and just like all these new crazy plugins that are like so sick. And like we've been learning a lot, like even since it's crazy, like when we're recording and I think about some of the stuff that we had to do back in the day, like on even going back to this. So like Brett, who ended up being our drummer, like he was the guy to go to at the time, and like had like he was like this little prodigy basically, because we were like probably like, we're in high school, we're like 17, he's like 14, like shredding on guitar, like already insane at drums, and he had this little like home studio that he had taught himself, and it was literally like this Tascam like digital workstation. It wasn't a computer, it was literally like an all-in-one like workstation. It hooked up to its own monitor and everything, so it had its own like OS and everything. So like when we recorded,
damn, so you're straight professional, man. Like in high school, how do you afford that as a kid in high school? Jesus.
Yeah, it was really like, it was ahead of the time. Like we recorded like all the drums you hear on that. It's like an electric kit. So
the electric drum set.
Yeah, the electric drum set, which is like the closest thing you could get at the time, because like Superior Drummer and like even like we didn't have the resources to trigger a kit at the time. So like that was how he wanted to do it. That's how he had been recording like bands and his stuff. And we heard, what he had been producing, and like, we just wanted to get something out there. Like we wanted to get something on MySpace. And I remember like from writing to going to record those demos, it was very quick. Like we pretty much wrote everything you hear on that like B-side of the new release and played that out. Like that was our live set for, the year. And then we pretty much immediately hit the studio to record the demo.
What was the writing style like? What or the writing process like?
Literally just sitting there with a practice amp for half of it, just coming up with riffs.
Just like actual
in a vacuum, and then live band,
full band practice. Just like after school, like just going to my house. We had all of our stuff in my basement, and like we would literally like set up band practice weekly. Like we practiced like every week back then. And like the chemistry from me and Wells, like writing the stuff, is like Wells has always pretty much been the like guitar god of the band. And when we were like, just like what Wells said, we were listening to like a lot of It Dies Today, a lot of Bleeding Through, like Unearth, 18 Visions and stuff like that. And we had just discovered like, down tuning and like drop C, and like it was just like crazy, like August Burns Red.
So nobody was really like directing the whole process. It was more of a collaborative effort.
Yeah, I would say that like for sure, like Cannibal Holocaust and Finish Him were absolutely written like at practice as a live band. songs like August Underground, Dawn of the Dead, those might have been, like the riffs might have been like come up with, by me like at a different time, and then I brought them to practice, and then we fleshed the rest of the song out. But yeah, pretty collaborative, honestly, for the very first stuff, because we all equally had no idea what we were doing.
But that was cool, and like I like looking back on it and like the demo stuff. It's like, it's hard for us sometimes to like listen to it because it's like, oh, that stuff like sounds like trash. But like, even a lot of music that I really like sounds bad. But I think it's just because when it's your own stuff.
I think when you're like 5 or 6 years removed from it is when it's like at peak fucking cringe. Like you hate it so much, But like
exactly.
Like we're all like in our 30s now, so I mean we've had plenty of time to reflect, on like the formation of the band and like the formative years and like the way the shit sounded at the beginning, and like there like of course it's still bad, but like there's kernels in there of like you can hear that we had a good idea, and you're proud of that. Like not proud overall, of like listening to the demo start to finish. And
hey, y'all did really good as a high school band. Like this is really, really good for like the age that y'all were at,
Thanks.
Yeah, I remember, obviously we came up kind of like we rode the MySpace wave, like that. There's no denying that like it was timing, that helped us out tremendously in terms of like when we released our first stuff.
Definitely.
And compared to a lot of the other stuff that we were hearing, because it was just like a flood of metalcore bands at that time. I remember hearing the demo for the first time like in the car and being really stoked that it sounded as good as it did compared to some of that other stuff. So yeah, for the time we were happy with it.
Absolutely. And it like looking back on it, like it's very honest, which is cool. Like there's what you hear on there is like all the mistakes and stuff, and all the stuff that's left in there is like kind of adds to that. So I can like Wells said with like the nostalgia, I think it's cool that it's a little rough around the edges because none of us were really trying to step on anyone else's toes. It was really collaborative. We kind of let like everyone was just free to kind of like bring their sauce to the table. And when we recorded it, it was also our first time, like it was my first time ever recording ever. And like you guys had really only done like the Refund stuff. You had been in the studio with After Drama, but like it was really kind of like our first time, like in the beginning of the band that we had ever recorded anything and recorded together. Like it was definitely my first time recording anything.
Were you super nervous?
No, because Brett was so cool and it was like at his house, and like I mean the pressure was on, but like we were so focused on the band and like from just practicing and like playing shows, like we would literally like get out of like high school in like 10th grade, like I just got my license, and like pack my mom's car with all the cabs and our drummer's car with like all the drums, and we would drive like to the middle of nowhere PA like on like a Thursday night, like so like we had just been like when Belie, like when we started the band, we were like 100% committed and like hustling really hard, and like what Wells said, like that kind of went hand in hand with like MySpace really taking off. So like we saw like results like right away in terms of like, okay, like we're having success with this, we're getting shows, like like everything kind of just fell into place, and we kind of were just paving our way like through high school doing the band.
Hell yeah, man, that's awesome. Did you guys use a bot for MySpace to get you more friends and stuff?
No.
Oh, nice.
We were like way too like lazy and like we didn't know how to do any of that shit.
No.
We were lucky. We just got lucky in the sense that the algorithm must have liked our stuff, because I remember that when we posted our demo, we were like shocked that within I think a week, it had 20,000 plays.
The Drop Dead thing I think really helped too, like being on the Ollie from Bring Me the Horizon had his old clothing line, MySpace clothing line, Drop Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like I somewhere still have like the shirt that he sent us. Yeah, it definitely doesn't fit anymore. But like
wait, so he printed like a shirt with y'all's logo on it or something?
No, we were on his Yeah, we were on his like clothing line. What shirt did you have?
I don't know. It was like a
Oh,
green.
okay. So y'all were promoting his clothing then. I gotcha.
He sent us a bunch of free shirts. And we had a bunch. Yeah.
The one that I remember, the one that I got was the most horrible fucking mustard yellow color that.
Okay, so yours was mustard yellow, and mine was
gray.
like puke vomit green. Like it was like baby.
Honestly, describing it as mustard yellow is wrong. It was
The shirts were sick, man. That sounds bad.
How did y'all get hooked up with him?
He was super fucking cool. This
the
is like
coolest piss-colored shirt.
He was awesome, and it was crazy because it was just straight up, hey, what's up? I'm Ollie. You guys are cool. Can I send you shirts?
Yeah, it was very informal.
And you're like, all right, yeah.
But that definitely, I think, also helped just like with the clout and just with those OG MySpace numbers. Yeah, all that shit was legit. It's crazy. All the friends, all the plays, like that's nuts. But it was like a full, like we were in high school, like that's all we would do when we get home from school is like if we weren't practicing, like all of us were like operating the MySpace. After a while, Duck just took over like running it and like answering messages, and we booked literally like our first 2 tours like on MySpace. Like we literally graduated and went on. Everyone else was like going to school in the fall, and
We rented a van.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know how.
No, we had the van.
rented.
We had just gotten the van. That was 06.
Oh,
the
okay.
minivan.
All right.
With Baxter.
The Chrysler. Jesus.
But yeah, even in like 10th grade, like we toured, and it was like a disaster. But it was like
It was great.
It was great. It was awesome. I wouldn't change anything about it. But yeah, we literally like booked an entire East Coast tour off of MySpace. And
That's fucking awesome.
yeah, it was crazy. Just hustling on MySpace. Like we literally were just like, you know, getting shows, and that's how we did a lot of like our booking and stuff too. So that was really ahead of its time.
It was in a time too before like social media tried to like be smarter than you and show you what you want, what it thinks you want to see. So like you would get a feed that's uninterrupted. So if you just actually hustled hard enough and posted enough stuff often enough and knew where to do it, like it would get in front of people.
And you would actually see like posts from the bands that you follow rather than what it is now where bands have to pay to let you see it. It's pretty stupid.
It was a lot easier to get your stuff in front of people.
Exactly.
Bulletin board was sick.
You post the shows.
Someone said that they like brought back there's like a new MySpace thing, but there's no way it can like ever work again.
Right.
Unfortunately, it has to be something new.
So after Persephone, you guys did an EP, just self-titled. I feel like this is really like where you guys became your own thing, and to me, this is what I associate you guys with. I was a huge metal elitist back in the day, so I didn't pay attention to any of the stuff that was coming out, and I actually discovered you guys in 2015. And holy shit, this EP, guys, is insane. The intro, the Grayman, is so fucking sick. Like I can just imagine starting shows off with that and it just going nuts. I assume that's what happened.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what
Yes.
it was written with that in mind, definitely. In the studio, we recorded with a guy named Cole Martinez, who had played in Abigail Williams and recorded a bunch of bands around the Cleveland area. We went out there to work on that with him, and I think we took 3 songs out there, but I think we wrote Paper Idol in the studio, and the intro was written, but he was the one who actually wanted to detune it as much as it is. So I give him credit for that, for the heaviness of the intro. Shout out to Martinez.
Wherever you are, man.
Yeah, dude, this is so much more brutal than your last one. It's like the Black Dahlia murder with breakdowns. What were the influences going into this? Because it's clearly a different sound happening here.
Yeah, a lot of Black Dahlia murder, actually. I think Miasma had just come out.
Dude, that's exactly what I was thinking that y'all were getting influence from for this. Because like at the end of some of the songs, I would think, oh, this should just go right into the last song on Miasma. And yeah, so that's awesome that you said that.
Yeah, I remember in the minivan tour that we did.
Holy hell!
Yeah, I was like,
we were listening to that a lot. It was kind of like, again, I'm not trained. Like I'm self-taught on everything, so my approach at this point was way less refined than it would be today. To write a song. So I think that there's a lot of happy accidents on the EP, just by virtue of saying, oh, okay, well, I don't know what a measure is, so I'm gonna put more 16th notes in this measure than there should be, and the riff is actually going to carry over an extra like half measure. I wouldn't probably do that if I were like trying to write something that makes perfect musical sense now. But at the time, I think that it did kind of make us sound a little bit different.
Oh yeah.
Some of the riffs on Paper Idol and stuff were definitely written in that way, and I think that did kind of make us stand out a little bit.
Well, speaking of Paper Idol, you guys did a music video for it.
Yeah, the music video was awesome. Like, this is like, the EP to me is like, signifies like the beginning of like kind of like the second half of like the band's lifespan. Like, this is when Brett, who had recorded Persephone, who had recorded demos, we finally like bugged him enough that he agreed to join the band. And I had moved to vocals. Like, our old drummer and our old vocalist, like, both had left the band around the end of 2007. So like, we kind of took 2008 off and like knew that we were gonna essentially write what would become the EP with Brett. We knew that he was gonna be joining the band, and everything at that point was just because we had been playing a couple shows with Brett, like playing the old stuff, and we were just really excited to like unleash. Like, we all had come a long way, and obviously adding like Brett to the band, like Brett is the whole sauce on like the EP. Like, we finally had like the drummer and like the riffs that like Wells was coming up with, like really required, like we had it in our head, and we need someone that can play, that can keep up and like actually play this stuff, not only like in the studio, because even back in 2009, like Brett played all the drums. There's like triggering and stuff, but most bands now, it's so easy to just write all the drums out, especially in extreme music and metal and stuff. But like, we knew we needed someone that was going to be able to record and also play the stuff live. And the four of us, like, writing that stuff, it was just super refreshing, and we were all just like kind of taken back by the how far, like, just stoked on the future. Like, we realized like what we were going to be able to do from here on out. So we had like a lot to prove, and like a lot of fire burning in the band at that point to like really own like this like new lineup. And I really wanted to prove that I could handle vocals and step up into that spot. We didn't want to like bring someone else into the band for vocals. I was really confident in just letting Wells do his thing, like Wells and Duck hold it down, and Brett was so good that we had other guitar players throughout the years for live and touring and stuff, but like this lineup was pretty much from here on out like the core group, and first time recording in like a real studio, so all of that kind of just came together again like at the perfect time.
So this is senior year for you guys then?
This would have been like 1 year, like 2 years after high school. Like,
oh, okay. Is this y'all's first music video?
The Finish Line video was our first music video, and also around this time in 2008, 2009, a really close friend of the band, Jocelyn Darlington, who was kind of like our manager in this era, especially. He's the one who shot and directed both of our videos. He wasn't really a manager as much as he was just our friend that like was like, yo, this is how you like do this. This is how you like get legit looking stuff. Cause like, especially around this time, like, quality of stuff in production was just like, stepping up. So we did those two videos in Pittsburgh with him, and very low budget, and put literally like 90% of the budget into getting like a good camera, and just relied on like connections and friends in the city to get, spaces to do the videos. And yeah, the videos were like, especially the finishing videos, over like 1 million plays, which is always like really insane to me. And like every now and then we'll go back and like look at the comments and look at everything. It's funny, but yeah, Jocelyn was the man, and in this era, he really helped us like kind of legitimize our whole operation for like the first time.
So what was the biggest tour you guys did at this point?
Biggest tour at that point?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, like
well, right
when you released the EP, who were you touring with?
Well, we didn't get like a booking agent until probably when we started recording Pale Beyond. So we didn't really start like touring until, 2010.
Yeah, it'd be more like weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point during the EP, we were literally like just doing, shows, weekends, like small shows. It wasn't really until like 2010.
5 days here or something in the summer. Or
Gotcha.
Stuff,
shows in Pittsburgh, and like we kind of like planned some of that too. Like I remember like we specifically like stopped playing so many shows around here, and like we just stopped playing. Like we were really focused on just like writing, recording, doing these videos, and that kind of like bridged the gap, going into like 2010, kind of like the next chapter.
Well, speaking of the next chapter, I actually had no idea that you guys had released another album. Let me get the art up for that.
The full length?
Yeah, where was it? I thought that you guys actually died after the EP, and it wasn't until I confirmed you guys and was looking into it that you guys released another one. Released your next full length. I'm sorry, I lost my place in those. Pale Beyond. So, yeah, am I alone? Did this catch other people off guard? Because it was like a 3, maybe 4 year difference, something like that, between this and the EP. Is that right?
Yeah, this was what, 2012.
Finally went.
Yeah.
Well, wasn't this like where? Okay.
We were basically like signed for a minute,
Like,
and then not
at the
signed.
end of the the self-titled EP, there was this weird. We might be on the Siege of Amida Records, which was the subsidiary of Ferret. And while we were recording this, it's like the classic tale of we were going to have money. You go to the studio, you're in the studio recording, and now that money is not there.
They're not putting the record
and
out.
they're not, apparently we are not on a label. So then
Dude,
it became
what the fuck? That sucks.
my self-titled thing. And then I do remember we were on tour and we were putting them out ourselves, and there was a pressing, and we were going to get them shipped to us on tour. And then we got them, and there was like a huge, it was like a lyric, like a typo. There was a stuff that we were like, we can't sell these. So we were going to tour
on the record.
We were gonna use those to eat, to sell, and now we can't because they're misprinted. And then so it was kind of
decided
like
just to sell them anyway.
It was and then it was like, hey, if people have them, that's awesome. But it wasn't like we're gonna
Super
push these
rare.
out, and then that kind of bungled the whole Pale Beyond release. So
The
it makes sense
entire-
that you might miss this one because it kind of did but didn't come out, and
The entire process was weird. Like we were supposed to go out to Colorado. We were gonna go to Denver and
and then we ended up going back to Cole Martinez in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Because we weren't getting a lot of communication, so got to do it ourselves, and then we did it ourselves enough until we had to do the whole thing. And,
So yeah, it was our own money 100%. Like that was not. It didn't come
and
out
with the
from
misprint,
anything.
like it was our own money again. So like we couldn't just like reprint and start selling that stuff again.
What was printed wrong? Or typoed or whatever?
I take full responsibility for that because one of the songs, the titles is Latin, and it's Nihil sub sil novum, nothing under the sun is new, and I had spelled it wrong on there. I spelled the Latin word wrong.
You can still sell those.
We did.
Which we did, but it wasn't like as like a
At the
to
time,
the
we were
extent
just
of
so
like
devastated.
official. It was just like shit, man.
Like the EP had gotten us this deal, and like the whole point of like the EP and the videos and like like I said, working with this guy Justin was to kind of like really try and
put the best foot forward, and
Yeah,
then when you get
move to the next
your best
level.
foot forward is misspelled. You're like,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
We really.
The whole process was like just fucked. Like we basically decided to do it in Cleveland because we thought that we were, we had worked with this guy before. We knew that it would be good. There was plans for it to be mixed and mastered elsewhere. So we were like, okay, we'll save the label some money. It's close by, the budget. It'll work out. Like we basically were moving things along on our own because this label that we were in, that was going to put it out, they were in the UK. So I remember like, trying to get a hold of them, and it was just like impossible. So like they pretty much gave us the thumbs up to go do this record, told us that there was a budget and that everything would be squared away, afterwards. And keep in mind, we're still like, 19, 20 years old at this point. So, we were like sick, like, yeah, for sure. And everything was like going really good. And then we basically like tracked out like 90% of the record and basically came home with the plans to go back out one more weekend and finish it. And that's kind of like when everything on the label end fell apart. And then we pretty much went into, just like Duck said, just like DIY mindset. And we were like, we hadn't had the best track record of like working with other people. And it was kind of like, we should have known better, like type situation. I feel like we all kind of like knew that something was up the whole time, but we were so focused on just, the recording process. And we literally were in Cleveland for like 2 weeks, had a hotel, like stayed at a shitty hotel, stayed at the studio.
In the studio, yeah.
Like wrote a lot of this record in the studio. Like going in, it was the whole process was just really unorganized and just all over the place. So once we realized that the label wasn't going to put it out, we were like, fuck it. Like, we're still really proud of this. We've worked really hard on this, and we're going to just do what we've always done and figure out a way to make it work and put it out ourselves. And at that time, Brett had really gotten good on his end. Like we had done a lot of pre-production, like pre-production going into the studio at Brett's. The songs that were written when we went into the studio, we were able to demo out with Brett, and he had come a long way since recording our demos and since he had started recording. So we basically had like 90% of the album. We wrote an entire song at Brett's, basically took all the stuff back to Pittsburgh, and ended up sending it to Brian Hood from My Shoulder, My Bride, who was like the saving grace of this record.
Yes.
That dude makes some sick shit, man. Records some good stuff.
And I feel like not a lot of people know that like he like essentially like produced this record. Like we ended up doing the majority of the work, definitely, like a lot of work on it, like just at Brett's house, like fixing stuff.
What also happened too is that like Cole, who I just put over, like who it was great. He was just not there for a lot of it. I think he had some stuff going on.
He was like burned out. Yeah.
So like we kind of just like had the studio. There wasn't really anybody there. Like there was
different people would come in.
Brett knew how to run the
Brett did
software as it was, so he would just sit behind the board.
His buddy EJ, Cole's buddy.
Was that
EJ,
wait?
No, that was the EP.
That was the EP. Because I was like, is that when we met Machine Gun Kelly?
What, you met Machine Gun Kelly?
Yeah.
We smoked up with Machine.
I don't know if
Machine
it
Gun
sounds like
Kelly.
we're not supposed to. Yeah, we got weed off of him or something.
He was recording at the same studio that we were recording in Cleveland, and literally this was like
EJ was like his friend, because I remember we were like, it was after we were done recording, we were just hanging out, and EJ was showing us like stuff he had recorded, and he was like, this dude, he raps so fast, and he can, and it was all about how fast, and literally that was like how he was like, he rapped faster than Twista, and he did all this, and he showed him rapping, and you're like, wow, legitimately, yeah,
he came through to like
that guy can rap really fast, and we were down in this little basement, and it was him and his girlfriend at the time or something.
Yeah.
All I remember is he was in a wife beater. He was really nice. He was really quiet, and we did our thing, and he left, and
super nondescript. Like
here we are, and there he is.
If
Take what you want from that.
I never would have remembered it, like unless like I was like.
That's like one of the only things I'd like take away from the recording, because everything else about recording sucks. Because you're just like, miserable because you're playing the shit wrong.
Sitting
I'm
around.
eating horrible. Like everything sucked.
Rallies.
And then I was like, oh yeah, but like, didn't we
A lot
meet
of rallies.
Machine Gun Kelly? Like,
No.
did I like do that?
Tiger
So,
also, T9.
I don't know what you remember, but I'm gonna remember that. I'm gonna take that.
So what fell apart on the label end?
I think they basically just
They went under.
They spent their literally the money they promised us disappeared. And they also, I know they signed. It was right around because they signed, like, there was like a couple bands, and I couldn't tell you the names of them for the life of me. What was the fuck? There was the.
They were just running out of money and got way ahead of themselves.
Yeah, so there was like.
Yeah, they did
signed
fall apart. So I guess it
contracts.
was around that time then when the label was like falling apart is when they were supposed to be funding you guys.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
That
because,
sucks,
like-
man. Oh my god, that blows. So why not
It
take
was
this to another
really hard.
label?
Say that again?
Why not take this to another label then?
We just, basically every time that we've ever like had anything that's been promised to us by anybody outside of like our very
Our
small
friends,
circle
yes,
of
it
friends,
never worked out.
there's just a sense of just like a cloud hanging over the proceedings the entire
very
time,
overcast.
and like it always goes wrong. So like that's always the way it's gone for the band. So like we've tried to keep as much stuff in house as possible, and like. We know that it probably in some sense that has like, you know, limited the amount of exposure that we could have had, but everything always fell apart if it wasn't done in-house.
By us, yeah.
So we just, the thought never crossed our mind to take it to another label. It was just like, we're finishing this ourselves. We hate
Everyone.
we hate the music business and we just want to do this
Jaded,
on our own.
grumpy, and just like, all right, let's just put it out.
Yeah, first full length and already jaded.
Just like you're like 5 years in at this point. No, you're 7 years in at this point. Yeah, I'd start feeling a little jaded too around this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right around this time, though, is when we linked up with another dude that we met in Cleveland named Corey, and he was working for like he basically had like a small startup booking agency, and it was very small, but like we finally had a booking agent. So like we were never on a label, but we had like a pretty sick booking agent. He pretty much just booked like for us. We got to tour with like Legion and who like were some of our closest friends. They were easily our favorite band
Best
to
band
tour
to
with.
tour with, hands down.
But like as stuff was like falling apart with the record, we were also getting like, you know, starting to get really good shows. We were starting to go to Canada a lot, and we just did really well in Canada. We had like mad love in Canada, and we just started going up there and doing shows, you know, up north, New York, and weekends, and we toured with a band called Farewell to Freeway. We toured with a band called Beheading of a King from Montreal, and like so like while things were falling apart with the record, we knew that we had something, you know, that we were really proud of, and even though the record, you know, wouldn't come out until 2012, we were touring on it hard and promoting.
Which is
you know,
weird. Like you're
promoting.
touring on a record that isn't out, but is out, but like
Well, also y'all didn't put out like physicals until 2017, right?
yeah.
Like y'all said the download.
That Duck was talking about, they like were messed up, and we were just like, fuck it, like let's just like there's nothing wrong with them other than the typos. But I think that like when we first had gotten the shipment and like when all that stuff originally went down, it just kind of like we were all just more bummed out about it, and just kind of like it just seemed like it was the whole album was like cursed.
We were in a motel. I think we were in like North Carolina, and like we had the box of physical copies like shipped to us, and like we opened it and saw that they were fucked up, and like it was during like a 2-day like 2-day off day stretch where like the shows already weren't great, and like we were feeling pretty fucking like shit.
Yes.
And yeah, seeing that
It's like getting punched in the nuts, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
All right.
It was like it was like kind of an omen that like yeah, this shit is fucking cursed. And then like right after that, I remember like we got on the fucking like highway, and
The
like
trailer was
our
open.
trailer was on.
Holy, that was
our
right
trailer
after
was
that.
unlocked. Yeah, literally right after we got.
Wait, what happened?
It's the worst thing.
And like so the U-Haul that we had
Aiden.
Yeah, it wasn't.
This
It
was
wasn't,
Aiden's
it wasn't properly locked, and we're driving like 60 miles an hour on the freeway, And like all of a sudden we just start seeing like cabs like
You're like, hey,
rolling
is that your fucking
down
Rolling out of the trailer?
Yeah.
Oh,
We literally
fuck,
pulled
dude.
over. I can still see
You
it.
have to like
It's like,
wrangle up
yeah.
the
I don't know how there weren't any cars around us. Like, I literally
nothing
remember,
got hit. There
Yeah.
was no traffic problem.
This
I
was like a
sprinted like
4-lane
200 feet to like, we had like, it was crazy. Like,
Dude, the worst
everything
is it was
fell
like
out.
gradually. It wasn't flat. It was like the slightest slope. So
Yeah.
everything kept going.
It was like a
down. It wasn't
99
like it would
degree
just like
slope.
go
Jesus.
off to the side, or it was just like.
And
We were
everything-
chasing it down the
Oh,
fucking
what are we?
Everything left the trailer like
Maybe
on,
we should
on
have put out
wheels.
the album.
I assume that everything got destroyed then, right?
No, everything was on wheels. Like, that's what was crazy about it. Is like everything perfectly just fell
Oh,
out,
really?
rolling,
Nothing
and we
even
all
tipped over.
sprinted. Yeah, it was psychotic.
That's
Somehow.
weird. So it's kind of a curse, but you kind of broke the curse with this one then.
We
That
got
could've been it.
insanely lucky that day. Like, that was crazy.
That's
Bro, like,
nuts.
I wish that I could have been that positive about it at the time. Like, I wish I could have seen it.
Yeah,
that way.
now I'm like, yeah, it makes so much. But yeah, no, that was
I was in pure misery.
very quiet van ride for.
At the time, y'all are probably like, oh, I just want to move on to the next album, so this isn't cursed anymore.
Alright, okay.
No, seriously, I think that it was such an exhausting process that lasted way longer than we anticipated, and included so many kind of like moments of like disappointment that
Yeah.
like by the time we actually had that final disappointment in our hands, we were just like, all right, fuck this, we're done with this shit.
It wasn't until our good friend AJ, shout out AJ, Preserving Underground, runs a local record shop here, that like specializes in metal and hardcore and old school stuff. And he had to kind of convince us to just like, he was like, dude, just put them out, like people want them. And you gotta like keep in mind, like CDs were popping, but like not as much as they are now, where they're kind of like coming back in this like novelty way. Like streaming was really just like starting to take off. So we were just like, it wasn't like we were like, we're never putting these out. Maybe like that first day, that's how we felt. But like, it was almost like, we'll worry about this like later. Maybe we'll see if we can salvage it, get some new booklets. But I mean, what was also a huge bummer about it is like, we went really hard on like the artwork for it and the photography for it.
Yeah,
That's where like that is easily where the most like of our money went. That was not to the actual recording.
Yeah.
And we were really happy and really proud of it. And
Yeah.
just to see it fucked up. Kind of.
Who did the art?
Her name's Sarah Timms, photographer in Colorado.
What is it exactly?
It's basically okay. So she worked. She did the photography and the layout was done by Dan Wagner.
D-Dubs.
D-Dub Designs, who did a lot of stuff for volumes and structures and that whole collective of bands. But it's essentially what it actually is a dummy laying down. It's supposed to be a person, and their face is covered in a mountain of gold.
And there's actually two bodies, so like
There's a person in there?
It's a person laying flat on their back, and then that gold mound is their face covered in like little gold pellets or dust.
Yeah, like gold dust. And there's two bodies, so there's one that's laying.
Oh, I
down.
see it. Oh my god, dude. Okay, I totally see it now. I thought it was like something that was painted, but now I see what y'all are talking about. Okay.
I think that's super cool. Like over time, I've heard people say they've seen like a dinosaur in there, but like it kind of ties in.
Just look at it's an interesting.
We didn't plan for it to be like that, but like it's cool that it's that like it's kind of like an illusion.
Yeah, and like Wyatt was saying, there's one body that's kind of laying this way, and then there's one that's I don't know how to do it.
It's like
overlaying this way. So,
Yeah, I totally see it now. Oh my god, if you can't see it in chat, I'm like circling around one of the bodies with my mouse and another one up here. Interesting, huh? I had no idea that's what that was. That's crazy, man.
And if you have one of those, like they made it to Japan, like AJ took some over to Japan and stuff. So to me, it's cool. Like we're not like none of us are real into like the like record collecting and shit like that. So if you do have one, it's like that's like the original pressing. It's the only pressing that there is. So if you're able to get one through Preserving, through AJ, like you definitely have some rare shit right there.
So, you guys did get more physicals printed in 2017, right? Or is that just when they hit like online?
No, that's when we actually like took. Like I remember, like they all came like disassembled, so we had to spindle the discs, all the paper, like the inlays and the inserts and stuff, and then all the jewel cases. So we literally gave them to our buddy AJ, who just runs his real physical store, but also had at the time was mainly focused on his like online store. And we just literally gave him hand numbered. I think I don't even remember how many he actually like how many actually like were salvageable and made it like out to people. But it's definitely like under 100. It has to be like around 80 or something. But yeah, that was just that was just the first time that we had agreed to just say fuck it and put it out. And we're happy the people that really wanted it were able to get it, because I'm still really proud of that record, and like it really is our only full length. So
yeah, let's talk a little bit about your sound on it. I would say you're being like progressive metalcore on this one with some djent and a little bit of the melodic death metal thrown in. What made y'all move from your brutal EP into more of a progressive sound?
Really just kind of feeling like we wanted to. It's the entire process. I think for any band that started out in the scene in like MySpace metalcore, I think most of those bands have been kind of running away from whatever it was that they first did, and probably whatever they did after that, and probably whatever they did after that. It was a constant evolution, and yeah, I think that just kind of. It wasn't anything that I was necessarily listening to at the time that maybe influenced that, but it was just a desire to kind of want to take us out of the more formulaic box that we were in, and like experiment with like different chord voicings and things that were melodic, not necessarily in kind of like a Swedish death metal type way, but just melodic in general.
There's a lot of like post-hardcore and
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say some of that in there too.
it was just like a melting pot of all the stuff that we really liked, and like Wells just went full like sicko mode on it, and it has a very like schizophrenic like structure. Like all the songs, like rarely does like anything repeat, and like in a way, like there's some riffs on there that are so good that like you're like, oh, like I wish that jammed like longer or it came back to that. But that's almost kind of like the kind of like MO of this record, is it's like you never really get a chance to like settle in, and it's just like riff fest. Like Brett and Adam and Duck, like just I remember when we were recording this record, like just everyone was just at their best on this in terms of like like peak Belie kind of like musicianship here. And that is one thing like that I'm super proud of it. And I think it's cool that it kind of has a cult following. I think we all wish that it would have, and like if we would have, with all the problems that we encountered and everything that the band was kind of like going through, we really were focusing on doing like these smaller tours and just trying to be on the road. And I think that, with hindsight, like the record still is insanely special to us, and I think it still holds up. There's a lot of really insane riffs and breakdowns, and just really like dissonant and melodic, as well as, sad and evil at the same time. And that was kind of like where Wells really brought like his, insane kind of next level riffing to the table.
I do think this is really good, and it does definitely hold up. What also holds up though is the two singles that y'all released, and then when you released them, you said this was the end. So what's going on? Why'd y'all even record these if y'all are just gonna end it?
Basically, so we did a trip to Canada. Basically we did half the tour was down here, and then half the tour was in Canada. So we knew that when we came back, we were gonna record regardless. I think Solicitude happened before this happened. So Solicitude was not released, as a goodbye or anything.
That was actually when we were like really
I think that was probably the band's peak in terms of playing regularly, writing and recording music that we were happy with,
self-producing everything,
playing live as a unit, and
our live show,
like feeling good about what we did, and
reamping, like having a ghost second guitar player that was like a clone of Adam. We just reamped like second guitar and had some really like made some really big improvements on just like our live set. Like this stuff sounded, you know, really massive and big, and we wanted to make sure that we could do that with just the four of us. We have had like other guitar players like in and out through that time too, and it was kind of, this was kind of like back to basics and like refocus just the four of us.
But when y'all did release, I guess it was Distant Hand then is when y'all announced it that y'all were breaking up whenever y'all at least put these two together. So what happened? Like, why did y'all decide to break up?
Basically, I think it was a combination of I think, you know, if you've listened to everything that we did from the beginning to these two songs like definitely stand apart from the rest of everything.
Very atmospheric compared to the rest of it.
Yeah, I would even say that like we didn't really kind of figure out who we were as a band until we put these songs out. It took that long.
You did change sounds like almost every release. Well, every release you did change sounds actually. So yeah.
Yeah, it was just kind of a constant process of like, you know, learning how to write a song, you know, that I liked and that everybody was happy with, you know, and like I think by this point we were confident, you know, in our ability to, you know, put something down that we enjoyed and that other people would like. So yeah, I think that by the time we were coming back from that, you know, trip to Canada that failed, we didn't get into Canada, and like that just another moment of kind of like, okay, what the fuck are we doing? And on the drive home, yeah, I mean, I think we were all pretty like bummed out and kind of wanting, you know, to refocus and like get a fresh start. And like that was the fresh start for us, was just kind of like, it had been 10 years, you know, we've definitely grown as musicians, like from the time that the band was started, and like does this music that we are making and want to make really kind of like, should it be made under this name, or do we want to do something completely different? Do we want to like do a different project and kind of wash our hands of, you know, everything associated with Belie? And I think that that's just how we were feeling at the time. And it was also like, we were like, Brett was essentially like 1 foot out of the band at this point.
Just
like
the drummer role in general was just always kind of a revolving door from the beginning of the band. And
it was
like
very difficult to tour always. Like one of the main reasons that we never did like a big support slot, you know, for anybody, that we like, I'd say most of the tours that we did, we were the main band, you know, on the show, was because it just was too difficult to get a drummer to commit to doing a real tour that lasted more than a month, and you know, getting a fill in, you know, in the right amount of time, and having it be the right person who like represented the band well.
A lot of our time was like spent like making sure the band could happen more than it was like doing
getting stuff done. Yeah, it was like kind of just trying to like tread in water, staying afloat, and then we're like, all right, are we gonna get everyone to practice to record this song? And then
and then bam, the curse hits and you can't get into Canada.
Yeah, well, exactly.
We had a kid that was playing with us like in that time of like, you know, we never really brought, we had two other guitar players in that time. They were more just like, you know, there to play live. But we basically, like, after we weren't able to get in because of one of the old like fill-in guitarists, we basically like trimmed the fat, like basically, like I said, like went back to like the four of us, you know, and I was really happy with Solicitude and like what we were able to do still on like that DIY level. And we still had help from Jostin, so like we knew we were able to we've always been able to get our stuff like out there. And I think we had like a YouTube channel, like drop it to like help, you know, that was like catering to this kind of stuff.
Beheading the traitor, I believe.
Yeah. That also really helped. But like, it's cool that this stuff, like the later stuff, you know, it's definitely the stuff that we're most proud of. And I still see people like even like recently, like maybe people who have, you know, just heard about us or getting into, you know, the MySpace stuff. Usually they eventually get to this stuff, and it's cool to see the people that do appreciate, like, you know, the like the DIY grind and progression of the band up until that point.
I actually got the video up for Distant Hand. So I'll put out through them. Honestly, I think where y'all were headed was freaking amazing. But we gotta talk about Canada for a second. So you couldn't get in because of one of the fill-in guitars?
Yeah. So what happened was we had been to Canada probably like 5 times, or maybe 4 times before this. This was going to be our 5th time, and like any band who's been to Canada knows that it can be tricky, and it's gotten trickier and trickier like as the years have gone along. At first, they just wanted to basically know that you weren't going to make any money up there. They wanted to be reasonably satisfied that you weren't touring.
You had to hide your merch.
They wouldn't like
say you were going to give your merch away.
They wouldn't like go so far as to like, you know, look up your tour dates in the beginning.
Then they did.
It would be to explain the fact that like we had all of our equipment and everything. We'd just be like, oh, we're filming a video up here. Our friend's a director, and then, you know, whoever our point person was in Canada would give them, you know, their number, and they would talk to them, and they'd bullshit them.
Because we were doing it on like a smaller operation, you know, like it wasn't like we were pulling up with a giant trailer. We packed our
basically
like,
amazing.
Chevy, we packed a 15 passenger van with all of our gear. It was just us. We didn't bring a merch guy like those first couple times we went up. And like, you know, they'd usually make us sweat it out a little bit, but there were a couple times where they would literally just let us right in. So it was always kind of just like this stressful, like roll of the dice. And actually that time where we didn't get in, they told us that we all could have got in. It was just this guitar player who wasn't allowed, and we were just too nice when we really shouldn't have been. And instead of like telling them to get a fucking bus home and doing it with one guitar, like we all just kind of like tucked our tails and like went home.
The first time that we went in to Canada, we didn't know what to expect, so we just sat in customs for like 3 hours or whatever it was. And then we were like, okay, well, we need to get smarter about it, so let's start going in the middle of the night. So the next 2 times we went over the Peace Bridge at Niagara Falls, like in the middle of the night, and that was always pretty good. And then next time we went Thousand Islands, which is like the chillest. I recommend if you're ever going to Canada. I used that border crossing in New York, like the New York to like Quebec border crossing is pretty chill.
We usually had like a Rochester or like a upstate New York show that we would kind of like either hit on the way or, you know, on the way back. So from Pittsburgh, you know, it was actually really easy to get to Canada and get to the border. That one tour was really the only time that like and that was the last time any of us had been there, you know.
Yeah. This kid had been selling a bunch of weed. We knew that.
Okay, let's go. It's not even like it was just like this kid in the suburbs drove around with too much weed,
and he had priors.
We didn't know how many priors.
And so he had felony charges or something.
Yeah.
This is like, all right, you guys, everyone else that's normal, you guys can go into the country no matter what. But this guy, and then we were like, well, he's our friend, so we'll just go back home too.
We should have been ruthless about it.
Well, yeah, now we don't talk to this kid, and that's he's obviously not a great guy, but hindsight's 20/20.
Dude, that sucks though. Oh my god, man.
There was just like a lot of like behind the scenes, like that just goes hand in hand with like DIY and like just kind of like just like our luck. Like a lot of it was probably like self-induced. Like a lot, like
we were too nice to a fault or something.
We brought a lot of that shit on ourselves, or just like we just like also just tried to like
make things work.
Yeah, and like we didn't really ever fit in with like, you know, like the like the archetype of like your like deathcore dude. Like a lot of the bands we toured.
Remember
with
when we toured? So I'm sure you know. We toured with a band called Rooks, and they were all really big. They could all easily beat the living shit out of all of us. Tough guys, and they told us that we needed to cultivate a tougher image. And the direct quote, it was like, "You guys are sick, but you guys should cultivate a tougher image."
We just like we're always kind of just like.
Dude, we played a show. I showed up once, or we showed up to a show once, and they were like, "Is that your stage?"
The outer loop thing. Yeah.
It was like they were checking us out for.
Man,
like,
you can watch our set. That guy sucked.
Yeah, outer loop management. I don't know what that is. Probably not a thing anymore. But they were checking us out, maybe for like a booking or something. And he like, came up and was like, "So are those your stage clothes?"
We were like,
"Dude, what do you mean? Yeah, I'm on tour. I smell like shit. I will probably wear this in an hour when I play, but what do you mean?" And then you realize, like, oh,
that made me feel really bad.
Yeah, I was kind of like,
I actually felt really self-conscious after that. I was like, "Is my plain white T-shirt?"
Because that was basically like, it's like, you know what, like a fail-safe for a bit. Like, hey, you got to play a show, just like black jeans, like the 511s. And a blank tee, white tee, V-neck. If you wanted to get a little crazy, and hey, there you go, you're playing a show.
Basically, just another example of how like nothing industry related ever really worked out for us.
It didn't translate to like we didn't.
Anytime there was like a hook in something, the line broke every time.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like having stage clothes, like, it's trying too hard, you know what I mean? Like, people aren't going to get, like, the authenticity across, you know what I mean? So, that's just a dumbass thing to tell people to do anyway.
And that was kind of like the world that, like, we were operating at that time. Like, a lot of the, you know, like, the 2010, like, big, you know, like, kind of, like, second wave of, like, the 2000s metalcore came. And it was a lot more, like, you know, showy, and MySpace had kind of died down, and we just like refused to do anything like corny, and like
the entire thing had been streamlined into like just a Loctite formula at that point, where it was like, you know, synchronized stage moves, and you know,
and we weren't like brutal enough,
and
like we like it was like you either had to be like, you know, on some attack shit, or you had to be like super heavy hardcore, you know.
Yeah, and we were always in the middle,
in between, and that shit
we never really focused. I mean, like, sure, the early stuff had breakdowns and stuff, but if you listen to Pale Beyond, like all the way through, there's probably 2 maybe. So we never focused on, like, maybe to our detriment, just kind of like how a live audience would respond to like some of our stuff. It was just like, you know, very guitar driven and very riffy, and like, yeah, we always did just kind of float in between the like, you know, stickly, you know, scene stuff, and
and we weren't ever that like, oh, whoa, this band's, watch out, get your, you know, clear the pit. This Belie My Burial's about to drop. Shit's about to get crazy. You know what I mean? We weren't nerdy enough for like the nerd metal.
You were kind of like that back in the day, though, man. Like that EP, like I said, that shit goes hard, man.
For those 2 years, maybe we were that band, yeah. But like I think
people would go off
like,
for that shit. Yeah.
At a certain point, it was like if you weren't playing like Florida Slam, like nobody.
It's just it's like we seem to be like right like either a couple months late or a couple months ahead of whatever like what we should have been doing at the time.
Right, because if y'all were doing this style like today, I feel like your in style, the last 2 singles style, like that would be like the shit, man. Like this is the time for that, you know what I mean?
What we're hoping to do with all this like new stuff, like I know we've promised a lot of stuff in the past, but like this is happening 100%, like going down, and like we've been working so hard on it, and we've tried to really not say anything about it because we had done that in the past, and just from past experiences, like everything that we've learned from Belie and like learned in these bad experiences, or anything that was kind of like, I don't know, like that was proven to be true, like our like trusting our gut, we've kind of taken all of that into account with this new project. So we're waiting till we have all of our eggs in one basket to, you know, to drop this shit. But like I'm insanely excited for everyone to hear it.
So you're saying Belie's coming back then?
I mean, we're making music
more or less. I mean, it's basically the exact thing that we said it was going to be when we stopped doing this. I mean, the reality is just life caught up to everybody. Like real life just got in the way. You know, as I'm sure is kind of the story for most of the bands of our era that aren't active anymore. Is that at a certain point, it's not even like a conscious decision was made to like dissolve the band.
No.
Like it was, and I really appreciate you saying that those, two singles, like, were ahead of the curve or whatever, because that's what we were shooting for. And I think that we would have continued on that path. We never lost like the passion to do it or anything. It was just like shows got sparser and sparser,
especially around here. The scene really took a hit.
Making money off of the band was essentially never a thing. So
we all had to like move out.
We all had jobs. We all got tired of living at home. It was like, yeah, we had to take the next step in our lives, and the band was definitely a casualty of that. But now with a different approach and not promising anything ahead of time, I think that we've given ourselves time to like put our best foot forward here, and I hope everybody does like the next thing. It is essentially a continuation of those last two songs. It won't sound like a complete departure from that stuff.
That's tight. How far along do you think y'all are with that project? Like, are you on the writing phase? Y'all starting to record stuff, or?
At this point, we have like 10 songs done. We have a ton of material. It's just a question of we want to release a lot of stuff at the same time, in terms of having a lot of audio visual stuff, like a video, a visualizer, tons of photography, and just kind of like build the band's idiom,
Dude, that's tight, man. Like, I'm fucking hyped that y'all are gonna be coming back. That's sick. So, moving on, You got your material re-released through Secret Swarm Records. Let me get the cover pulled up here real quick. How did you get hooked up with them?
Basically, Ricky and like the whole Secret Swarm team, this dude named Ryan reached out and got a hold of us, and basically they just made a pitch, and we were kind of like, going into it, we've learned a lot about this whole vinyl, like MySpace deathcore, like vinyl world that exists. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of this stuff too, like exists on Facebook, and like I hate Facebook. Wells hates Facebook. It's like
I don't have one.
Yeah. So a lot of this collecting this MySpace resurgence is like still pretty new to us. All we knew was like, hey, this dude wants to put out some old Belie stuff. We never had, throughout like the entire band, we never actually had any vinyl. And in all the projects and bands we've all been in, I don't think any of us have ever put out a record on vinyl. So like for me, it was kind of selfish. Like for all of us, I think at first we were like, yeah, let's just do it. Like I just want to have a copy for myself. And then, like at first, like we really didn't understand, the kind of like crazy MySpace era boom that it has kind of like come back recently.
Right, you're just laughing at this guy wanting to invest in 300 records or whatever. You're just like, you're not gonna sell that shit.
Literally, like not so much that, as so much like how like we really wanted to do like Pale Beyond, like. Or like those last two songs that we put out, because we feel like that's the stuff that we're most proud of. And once like Ricky like explained, and like once me and Adam and we all talked about it, like we realized that like it is cool that there's some nostalgia, and it's been long enough now that like this stuff is like cool again. And like for us it was just as simple as, hey, you guys want to put this out, you guys know what you're doing with this, like let's make it cool, let's make it for the fans, people that have like really fuck with this era of shit. And now like with some hindsight on it, like I am really happy. We just got the they just got the test press in got to hear a little clip of how it sounds. The dude, what was his name? Jason, the guy from Between the Buried Me, the Between the Buried Me producer.
Jamie King.
Jamie King, like remastered the whole thing for vinyl, and like it ended up going from like, oh yeah, like this is cool, to like, you know, we kind of were just like sitting on it waiting to see what would happen, and then all of a sudden, you know, we had the art, we had the layout, and we put a good amount of work into making sure that like this was done right and done really cool. Like the layout has the inside has like old ass pictures from, because the A side is the 2009 EP and the B side is like the original demo. So it really does kind of like signify like those first two lifespans of the band, like, you know, everything from the beginning of the band till 2007, and then the EP, and then those two B sides that are on there were like the last thing we did with our original singer, and those were just always put just online. Leviticus and Unforgiven.
I was gonna ask about those, about when they came out. So that was around the EP era.
That we recorded those in 2007. It was like Brett had just joined the band, and it was this weird like short period of time where our original singer was still in the band, I was still on second guitar, and we had just gotten Brett in the band. So that was actually Brett's like first time writing and recording with us, and Ricky basically made the pitch to us, and you know, we like you said, like we really didn't understand or think like that the response was going to be as crazy as it ended up being. But as we like talked to the label and like the process of getting it all put together, like we started to realize how many people were you know, hyped on this, and it's just super humbling and just like, you know, really cool to us that people care about something that we made so long ago now. And just the physical vinyl itself, like I know I can't wait to have it.
Oh, they look insane, right? Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And like that's just shout outs to Tay, who did the artwork for it, and the whole Secret Swarm team. Like they've been really cool to us, and I was really, you know, we're really proud that like, you know, we could do this with them and have this be their first release.
You know, Taylor's awesome. He does some amazing work. I was wondering though what the copper stuff is in like the conjoined zombies' eyes. Never really understood that. This is mocked off of your EP art, and I believe there's something similar going on in the EP art. So what's that about?
We just told Tay to like, we wanted to like revamp the 2009 EP artwork. And I think he did an amazing job. Like it still stays true to the original, but it looks better than ever. He killed it.
The lyrics from the EP are very like my first ideology, like zeitgeist, like
Atheist Manifesto,
fuck religion, and corporations.
Very
so,
edgy.
Yeah. Yeah, so like the art is basically supposed to be like it's a man being split in two, and on one side he's a priest, and on the other side he's a corporatist. You know, like you can see like on one side he has a lapel that's like a normal like suit jacket lapel, and then on the other side he has like a more Nehru like priest collar lapel.
Okay, all right, I see that now. I was kind of thinking that it was like. Never mind what I was thinking it was. So the coppers then are like the coppers that you put over people's eyes when they die, so they can pay like the dude on the river Styx or whatever.
I honestly think that was just kind of a stylistic choice by Tay when he did it, because it was just kind of a black void.
I think or it's like an eyeball, like a weird like sick eye.
Yeah.
Okay.
The eye socket. But like once you see the whole thing, like I'm really hyped to like unbox that and get my copy, just to like look at all the insert and the actual record itself. It's going to be awesome. So yeah, it's very humbling, and just they sold out in like a minute 24 seconds, like
right.
Insane. So you know, kudos to them, and I'm proud of us for you know, putting the time into to make it special and being involved. And just for Secret Swarm for letting us, you know, be really involved in kind of have the input. You know, we wanted them to kind of like do their own thing with it, you know, but we also wanted to make sure that, you know, it was something that we would be proud of and that would ring true to the band.
So why did these unreleased tracks never go on a release? I was jamming Unforgivable not too long ago for the first time because I didn't realize this had unreleased tracks on it until I had confirmed you guys. And I put it in my car and oh my god, I fucking almost wrecked it because it's so fucking sick. Like, dude, why weren't these on a release? Why are they just sitting there?
I think we were in a really big hurry to get more stuff under our belt at that time because all we had.
MySpace was still, that was like 2007, so like MySpace was still.
To us, that uploading it to MySpace was releasing it. You know, to us that was putting it on a release. You know, like that was.
It's like today's SoundCloud. You know.
Yeah. That was the most exposure it was going to get. I mean, like to us, you know, putting it on a physical CD and selling it at shows, it would have gotten 1/10 of the exposure. Like,
and lots of bands were doing that too. Like it was kind of like a thing. Like we just viewed them as singles, and those were definitely the first recordings we had that were like a big step up with Brett and with Cole producing it. Like those were basically two bangers that we like pre-EP that kind of like set us up to, do the EP with Cole and kind of, send some stuff out to labels and like Well said, throw it on MySpace. Yeah. And those tracks just kind of helped us like, just stay booked, and those songs always hit really hard live. And like those were the last two songs with Corey in the band. So like the band would take like a pretty crazy change like shortly after we recorded those, with our original singer leaving the band and like the EP lineup kind of coming into like its final form. And basically we established our relationship with Cole on those recordings, and kind of like that was kind of Brett's initiation into the band as our drummer, and we pretty much after that immediately started writing the what would become the EP.
I missed a couple of things in chat. So Cricket Slams asks, are you guys in any other projects? I think the answer is no, right?
No. I've played and filled in for some bands. Did some stuff with this band called Resistance Wire from Pittsburgh. Filled in for some tours for our friends' bands, and other than that, not really. Always just doing. I've done a couple of things just by myself, and have like a little side project kind of going right now, just with some friends, some like sleazy shit. But other than that, not.
Shit. Okay. Ricky Broseph in chat, it says to convince you guys to go play a reunion show in North Carolina. Looks like that might actually be happening at some point then, huh? If y'all can get this off the ground again.
Yeah, that would be fucking awesome. I'm gonna
give me a drummer.
Talk to Ricky about that.
Give me drums.
Perfect world, we can make it happen. Yeah, I would love to do that. All the pieces have to fall into place though, and definitely an easier said than done situation. Like, especially all the focus right now on this new project. It's cool to keep going back and being able to do all this stuff lately with Belie. But our focus is pretty much just like finally getting this new stuff out there. And if the right opportunity was to arise to play a show and all the stars align, I would love to do that. We played some crazy shows in North Carolina, so that would be like very fitting.
Oh, we're gonna get to some crazy show stories in a second, but the Big Derp says Duck is my hero. So I don't know if you know who the Big Derps is, but
I actually don't.
You're his hero.
No. Shout out to my girlfriend in chat. Her name is Lyrical X Lies of X or something. That's her original AI. I don't even know how old everyone is here, but original AIM instant messenger.
Oh, nice.
She made a Twitch account just so she could troll me, and now she's
love you, Erica.
Just taking screenshots and sending them to me. She's loving the fact that there's a cat behind me.
Ricky Broseph says, ask Wyatt about his Vaporwave project.
Yeah, I did a Vaporwave project called Dio Brando, and that was actually what really helped me kind of like learn how to use Ableton, and like that's what we've been using for this new project to record. And I put out like a couple singles, 2 small EPs. They're on YouTube. They're on the Vapor Memory channel. And yeah, Vaporwave is awesome.
How do you spell the project name?
It's DIOBRANDO, and it's all one word. If you type that in with Vapor Memory, it'll come up. Yeah, I mean, I'm into like a new genre like of music like every other week. It's just my like attention span. But when I
Well, it
get
also helps you get like fresh ideas and keep the ball rolling, you know?
For sure. And the biggest thing with that was just it was something I could do by myself that was really like taught me how to use like a lot of recording like Ableton and recording programs and plugins. And you know, if it wasn't for that, I don't know if we would be able to be doing all the stuff that we're doing now, like in-house. And then now it's gotten to the point where, you know, Wells has essentially learned Ableton as well, and it's crazy. But if it wasn't for that, I definitely like would have never really dove far into production as far as I have. That was like a big turning point for me, and just like getting the right stuff to record at my house and just be able to make stuff in-house by myself.
Nice. So let's talk about some shows. What was your best show that y'all played?
Job.
Best show was the Lawrenceville Moose, literally like blocks away from where we're sitting right now. This is me and Wyatt's house, and like down the street is an old moose lodge that had a surprisingly big capacity. I think like 1,200 capacity.
Yeah, that show was there wasn't an inch to move in that.
And it was Despised Icon, Job for a Cowboy, and us, and then a couple of other.
God damn, dude! Is that EP era or is that the full length?
Warriors.
What's that?
Is that EP era or is that the full length era?
That's like Persephone era.
Yeah,
That's like 2007.
Oh, way back then. Alrighty.
I mean, honestly, like shows for us, it got smaller and smaller as time went on. Like
Sucks, man.
you could never recreate the peak of the scene.
You hate to say it, the MySpace era of like shows, like
You had the most
crazy.
casuals that were
People just
willing
went to
go to a
shows.
show. Yeah.
But like by the end of our like touring days, it was like everyone there liked us and was there and was like they were there to see us, but there wasn't as many of like MySpace. People just went to shows. Like they didn't know who we were or cared, but they wanted to go out to the show and be there, so that they added to that 1,200 people or something instead of to where the last couple shows where it's like, come out, guys.
Yeah.
We played a really awesome show with Structures in Canada. We played a lot of really awesome shows.
Honorable mention to
Toronto. Toronto was a fun one.
Peabody's Cleveland with
That
the
show's
Contortionist.
great. Yeah,
that
that was
was
really
really good.
Peabody's was a love-hate thing. There was a really good show there and a couple really bad
Really bad shows.
The Bleeding Through floor show, like that was probably one of my favorites.
Meridian Vets.
Yeah.
Bleeding Through at the Vets Club in Butler.
It was the first like small show that Bleeding Through had played in like 10 years or something, and like they were cool as fuck. This other band from Pittsburgh played, and it was awesome. That was a really good one.
Dude, that's sick. You got to play with Bleeding Through. Like, that's one of y'all's like heroes too, right? That's like one of the reasons y'all started, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So also, I remember like Black Dahlia. We've like opening for that. I remember opening for
that.
that.
Prada.
But not like, and I don't think that show in particular was that great, but like interacting with dudes from
there were a lot
like
of people
just
there.
that kind of
It's a
show.
nice
That
venue.
atmosphere was good. They were cool. Like them as people were cool. Like I had more fun
Definitely.
hanging out with people from like Black Dahlia and stuff than the actual show. So
Suicide
I don't remember
Silence,
if like
same with Suicide
people liked
Silence.
us, but like that was probably one of my favorite shows.
Dude, they seem like really chill people. Like Trevor Strand, I think is how you say his name. Strand.
Super down there, man. It was just like they could care less if you were in a band or not. It's just like, are you cool?
Yeah. Yeah. They were really good guys. I remember talking to Brandon Chipetti from Bleeding Through about the Chicago Bears, like after the show.
That's that's the song I'm like, I can't think of it. Oh man, I played for like this many people and it was crazy. I'm like,
No, it's like
it was cool when like
The show got shut down
the
too. I
dude
think.
from Animosity really liked the new stuff we showed him that one time.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's fun hanging out with them. But
Yeah.
like, I can't really think of like. But yeah, no, Canada, like a couple Toronto shows. What was the one place that had like go karts?
No, that was a good show.
No, that was there's clips of that on YouTube. Yeah, with
they always like people
Papa
came out and
Georgia.
like participated.
House show.
they treated us really well.
House show in North Carolina.
With Attila.
This kid's parents.
Oh
did
my
not
god!
Give a fuck. Like the kid's mom was there, and like
She was
the
barely
house
there.
was packed out with probably 200.
She was on like another planet.
Just like a normal suburban house.
Wrecked.
It was getting destroyed, and the mom is there. She's fucking shit hammered.
Yeah.
And like
Doesn't care at all.
like her living room is being destroyed. There's like shit falling, like cabinets are falling over, and like she's just there smoking a like Newport 100. Like
underage drinking, like.
We played in like the basement, but there were
No, we
people
played in
playing.
the living room.
Was it
right
the
in
living room?
dude.
I think there's
Holy
pictures
shit.
of it. I think when I was getting all the old.
It was a
pictures.
well furnished. All right, whatever. But people played in the basement too, because I remember there was like multiple. Like it was just. It doesn't sound like a real thing. It should have never happened.
I remember we got added to the show. This was the end of our.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, they're gonna let us play. It's an off day, and then we're like, what the hell?
Showed up. It's just like everyone's merch is like set up in the driveway.
It was insane. It was like out of a movie. There was literally like 250 scene kids just like in this person's front yard, and just we played the living room. And it was literally like psychotic. Like all hell broke loose. And I think that there's pictures in the new vinyl in the insert. Like there's a collage in the background, and I'm pretty sure when I was going back through like old photo buckets and like digging really hard to find some of this stuff, I found some of those pictures, and I think there's a couple of them in the record. So
I
it
did
was-
come across a video of you guys doing your intro at the beginning. I haven't actually seen this. I'm sure it goes hard though. That's gonna be playing.
Okay.
I don't know if this is supposed to be the Grayman intro. Do y'all know what's going on here?
We can't see anything.
That's not.
Oh, I thought that y'all were watching it too. Oh, okay.
It's just a black. It's just like a black box in the middle where the videos have been popping up.
Oh, you
Oh,
can't
okay.
see the video right now? You're
What
watching
was
this.
that?
No, now we're good. Now we're good. That
That's,
was
This is Blue
Blue Valley Cafe. This was like an hour from our house. This was insane. This is right after the EP had come out, and yeah, this was probably like
photographer Justin Boyd.
yeah, famous photographer Justin Boyd there in the background. Shout out to Justin Boyd Photography. Yeah, this was one of like our best like hometown shows, and that room is so tiny. Like that was a spot for like a year or something, and then it went under. But
It's
like
literally a coffee shop.
yeah, it was like just like a coffee shop. But shit went off for this show, and a lot of the people that are like up front here are like, you know, still like my friends to this day, or still at least keep in touch, or I know what they're up to. So this one was really cool. There goes Duty. Shout out to Ben Duty. Shout out to Eternal Sleep. Yeah, this show was insane. Anytime we played out here, it was awesome. I think we played out here again, like at the end of the summer swag tour with like Legion, or like played in this neighborhood.
All I can think about is coronavirus.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I always think about it. There's a subway there and it sucks. Don't go to
Who
the subway.
filmed this? Because the voice not this. I don't know who filmed this. Samega filmed this. But yeah, this was right after the EP, and like we were playing like all those songs, and still played
Ethan?
Finish Them and stuff. Yeah, we had
Ethan on guitar?
our first filling guitar player, Ethan, who was really close friends with Brett. This was definitely like the peak of like the EP era, and we did do a tour with this lineup shortly after this. That like was just like an East Coast. I think we went as far as like Indiana. It wasn't very. It was more up north and then kind of down south. But yeah, this lineup was short-lived, but was very sick for the time.
That's fucking awesome, man. Tez Mega in chat says, I heard Wells got a sick tan on the Summer Swag Tour.
Oh yeah,
Georgia, baby.
Yeah, so
I did Summer Sideshow.
yeah, we played a terrible.
We played a show at Marcy's Playground, but I don't think they showed up. That's
We were
where-
out of there. We were.
Do you know what
long
Marcy's
gone.
Playground is?
Sex and Candy. Sex and
The
Candy.
song "Sex and Candy" is from like the '90s.
I don't know it.
All right, well, there's
Weird Al
exactly.
parody of it.
You don't need to know it. They weren't there. I think Attila was there. Maybe.
Attila was
Somewhere. I didn't really see them.
Basically, so it was in Georgia. It was like the longest day of the year.
It's like a discount Warped Tour, but they're like
insanely unorganized.
No organization. And
most miserable we've all been.
Most of all, no shade at all.
Yeah.
And like I'm a baby. I'm fair. I'm very fair complected. So I need my shade. I need my sunblock.
You got sun poisoning, right? You had like blisters on your body.
I have a picture somewhere, and Wells was wearing a blade set and a tank top that day. And I remember we were staying at this like really fucking beat up motel, and I have a picture somewhere of Wells sitting on the bed after that. And I mean, dude, you definitely had like sun poisoning. Like you were fucked up. And where the tank top was is like all white, and then the rest of his body is just like.
Bro, that was on my body. That was on my body for 2 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's insane.
Because the worst part about that show was it was like an all-day fest, like Warped Tour
and we had to
hours.
keep touring on it. There was more days.
Because you were a band playing there, you had to be there at like 9 in the morning.
Yeah, we were there.
And you're like, oh, okay. And then so you get there to check in, and you just have to stand outside for 4 or 5 hours, and then you find out you're playing
another 3
3 more hours, and you're like, and there's in Georgia, and they're not like, oh, here's what the band's gonna play. It's like,
here's where to put your stuff.
just survive. I would show up at this time.
Disgusting bathroom. Just like get out of it.
Didn't there was like a lake or something like?
Or a reservoir.
Did you go in it or was I? I thought a couple of you guys like were so hot, just like bathing in this like little river thing to just try to cool off.
So what day was it on the tour when you got the crazy submarine?
That was like
how far into the tour?
We had more days. I have a picture of you.
Yeah,
just
you're not going
playing
home
on
after
the
that.
stage.
No, we had like 8.
Yeah.
That sucks, man. Oh my god. I can imagine trying to like keep energy up when your like shirt hurts to even put on.
Rest of that tour though,
I was like
awesome.
I was shivering. Like if we played in a place that had air conditioning, I was like
fucked up.
Yeah, I was
bad way.
I was in pain.
That was the summer swag tour with Legion, and like I said, those guys were like our brother band.
Vibes were so high that I was not.
Yeah, it was like, hey, let's hang out with them.
Because that tour was really sick.
Yeah, I was good.
Despite the sun poisoning.
So how about it? It sucked.
So what are some of your worst shows?
That's up there.
Summer Sideshow with Archie Split.
We just talked about some, yeah.
I talked about one. We played in Iowa, and we didn't have a place to stay, so we stayed with these kids who I think they were in a band that played the show with us at a church where we weren't allowed to, where our lyrics were being censored. We weren't allowed.
No. That was so it wasn't. It was also it wasn't censored, but like also so again at this time we were very like anti-religion-y with our merch and blah 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 blah. And I remember we set up our merch booth, and like again, this is another one of those Iowa all-day shows where it's like there's 15 bands, and so they're like, hey, we're gonna get you all together. We got food for you, but we want to give you a little pep talk. And they're like, hey, we just want to let you guys know that this is like a Christian established event, and we will not tolerate any negative sacrilegious comments on. And like so, like at the time, you're like, oh yeah, they're just saying it's all the other bands, and then you realize 14 out of the 15 bands are Christian bands, and then there's Belie My Burial, and we're the headlining band. Unfortunately, which is like, how did you guys book this and then not know and then be like,
that happened a lot.
That happened a lot.
Well, you know, a lot of these Christian bands are Christian bands, you know, so like, yeah, you're probably fine.
There's lots of good Christian metalcore. It wasn't like we were being super cool. It was just like we just did not feel welcomed whatsoever. And there were a lot of shows. Like I'm not gonna be able to remember all of them, but there were probably more often than not. We usually felt like we were kind of like the weirdos, or that we didn't really
we're the
fit
ones
in.
that are.
In my opinion, honestly, in the history of the band, there were no bad shows. Like I never had like a really bad time where I was absolutely like horribly upset. Like it was just like, yeah, there were bad circumstances. There were like, you know, shitty things, like, you know, having to like shake down some person.
I got
I paid
fun
or something,
one.
but
Remember fun one? I want to say I don't even know if it was Arkansas. I don't know if it was like, it was down there. It sounds bad. All I know is we were in the town. They didn't have zip code or area codes for the phone
we
numbers.
found the phone numbers. Yeah.
We played in like it wasn't even like a show. It wasn't booked for a show. It was just like the youth night. It was like a youth.
Yeah, there were like
Christian
there were
night.
7 people there.
We played for like 6 moms and 3 girls with hula hoops. But they all bought merch and were like the nicest people ever. So like,
everyone
was that the worst show or the best show? I don't know. But
people were playing pool well.
That's wild.
Yeah. There were Xboxes. You could Call of Duty while we were playing.
I felt like a real bar band because people were playing pool.
Yeah.
We played at some really douchey bar, like on the outskirts of Chicago, that sucked. Like that comes.
Those are the worst ones where they like stiff you on money and stuff for trying to be like that.
we
Like
got fucked on money.
those are so bad that like I don't remember them like that. I'm like, oh yeah, there was one of those in like New York.
There were never bad shows. There were just bad sleeping situations.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, we stayed at a house in Indiana. This band called MRSA.
No, that was Iowa.
That was
Iowa.
That was Sioux City, Iowa.
Sioux City, yeah, traumatized.
It was a house show, and we ended up staying there and like partying there. And
all the dudes were cool as fuck. Everyone there was super nice.
Yeah,
like that's not
insanely
to not
cool.
go against them, but the house was
fucked.
obviously it was a band house.
I woke up to literally a dog like pissing as hard as you could fucking imagine into the carpet, like a foot away from me. And I was like, they slept in the fucking basement, which looked like the fucking crypt keeper dungeon, and woke up with like fucking spiders. We were all sick for like 3 days. Like,
God.
All the shows in Canada were fucking awesome. Like,
I couldn't get a fucking shower fast enough to like prevent
The
a
MRSA
staph
house?
infection.
Yeah, no.
I was sure I was gonna get a staph infection.
played a really fucking awesome show in Miami, like in 2007.
That, do you remember
store.
the
That
one
show was awesome.
that started out where we put in it? We put it.
No
in,
one was there. It was a
we put
storage
it in this
locker.
place and it looked like it was literally like a shipping garage. Like it
Yeah.
looked like you're like, ah, okay, so we're getting murdered, right? Like,
No one there.
fucking-
No one there.
This is literally what we're gonna pull into this garage and they're gonna close the trailer
Rob us.
down and then kill us and no one's ever gonna see us. And it was one of the best shows we've ever played. Packed, tons of people. They all gave a shit. They were cool as fuck. I actually played a really good game of skate with somebody.
Before the
That was
show,
insane, yeah.
before
It
the
was
show though, I was really hungry, so we walked to a Ruby Tuesday and
We got sick.
Everyone shit.
We got sick.
Dude, we all got diarrhea.
Everyone got
All
sick.
were fucking bad.
Fuck Room Tuesday.
Yeah, fuck
was so
Ruby
sick.
Tuesday and fuck Perkins.
Made it back like burning diarrhea ass, like just in time.
Played a really cool show, hometown show with in Pittsburgh we played 2 shows in Pittsburgh with Devil Wears Prada. One was like in 2006 when we were like still in high school and right before they were like super popping, and that was awesome. And then we played with them again in 2007 at Mr. Smalls at the end of that tour, and that show was fucking awesome. We played a show at in the South Side, this place called Club Diesel, for this like party planning.
Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yeah, St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Dude,
That was just a fun one because Isaac fucking spoiled us.
Yeah,
That was
and-
VIP.
and
And
we-
stuff.
it's
free
not-
bottle,
yeah, they
free
hooked us
bottle of
up.
vodka.
Yeah.
But like, I don't remember any. Were there any bands that like? Were we the only band that played? I don't know what happened. Then. Like that was like the most. Rare
There was
thing.
other bands.
It was. Oh,
There were others, for sure.
that's
There were.
exactly.
Anytime we played like Pittsburgh, like we played with a mirror at this really like awesome venue that we all went to growing up. It was like the epitome of like the DIY
Oh,
spot
Roboto?
in Pittsburgh. The original Mr.
That was
Roboto.
cool, yeah. See, or like seeing like a day to remember. Like I don't even really like a day
At
to
the
remember,
Vets.
but playing with them at the Vets Club in Butler for like right before they just exploded was like that was really cool because like.
We played some really good shows at BCA, like this venue called BCA. We played some really good shows with Those Who Fear and their like brother band, Bought in Blood. Like those were all like hometown shows. Like I just always remember the hometown shows
Yeah,
because those are always awesome. All the shows and tours we did in Canada were like amazing. People and the bands up there like treated us so well every time like we went up there. Like sold a shit ton of merch. Like people knew the lyrics, people knew like all the parts. Everyone like mosh hard, like never had a problem finding a place, like a nice place to stay. Like it was like Canada was definitely like I think that's why we just kept going back there and like focused on that. We were doing everything DIY and we didn't have like any budget, so
It was
like,
god tier for comfort.
yeah,
I saw that y'all did quite a few tours over in Canada. What was the weirdest place y'all played? I think we've had so far like Ice Cream Parlor. We had one band that played in front of a bunch of fifth graders. Like,
we played in Buffalo, New York, Rochester, New York. We played a Discovery Zone, basically.
the last standing.
That was, dude, yeah, 'cause I remember literally I was before while bands were playing, I was just hanging out in the little ball.
Didn't go
They
on
had
to
a fucking
the
ball pit.
Well, I
Didn't play
watched
till
like
about
3
2:30.
bands in the ball pit, like behind the band. So like the entire show, like everyone can see the show, and then you can see my lazy ass just like, yeah, woo, fucking ball, yeah.
for people that aren't aware, it's basically a Chuck E. Cheese, right?
Exactly. At that,
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, it's the McDonald's play place times 10.
That's fucking crazy, dude. What happened? Like, how'd y'all get into that? How'd y'all get there?
Just how it was. Like shows got booked.
That was the fun
anywhere
part.
you could book a show. Like
You pull up and you're like, oh, so this is where I'm playing.
yeah, nothing really ever surprised us in terms of like what the venue was. I mean,
It's like a library basement. It's the basement of
Yeah.
a bar. It's
Yeah.
the basement of a VFW. It's just the basement of some
This guy's
guy.
house.
It's
This guy's like, hey, go to a basement.
it's a
All right.
flooded basement.
Go to my basement. It's not weird.
That would be
Get some spiders on you. Come on.
Yeah, we did that. We're like, hey, there's a peeing dog. With some
The worst show was definitely on our first. It was our first ever tour, and we were playing a show in Indiana. And
Dude,
it was a
stop.
flash flood.
Worst show ever. North Philadelphia. We were
Oh my
none of
God.
us were old enough to. It was the first tour, so none of us could legally
That shit was
rent
shady.
a van. So the drummer wasn't there because again, Belie My Burial, we just don't have a drummer at all. So from the first tour, we did without our original drummer. We had to get another guy because he was older, because he was the only one that could legally rent the van.
It was a mini.
Then we get to North Philadelphia, which it's not a great place. And then there were people climbing on our trailers, and it was like, are we gonna get broken into?
People were literally like,
We
yeah,
should have
don't-
never been
don't-
there. That was
don't
like
go there.
the show was great, but that was easily like,
We're literally like 16.
we should have got
15.
robbed or murdered or anything. Like there's just the amount of things we did wrong that we got lucky on.
If we had been more seasoned young vets at that point,
It was
wouldn't have been
16 years old,
We were-
seasoned young.
We
vets.
were way too babyface.
Oh my god. Whew.
That whole tour, the 2006 was like we were still in high school, and like that was like a test run. The routing didn't make any sense. Like the drives were like psychotic. There was like no money in it. But like some of those places that we played on that tour, like in like Altoona and in Michigan and in Illinois, yeah, like those ended up being like places that we would go back to like the following year, and as janky as that tour was, like there were
It really did a lot
there were
for
still
you.
people that came out, and that was our first time like like on the road like by ourselves, and I have nothing but like Will said, like no bad shows, like they're all great in my mind, and all the experiences, even if they weren't ideal, like I wouldn't change a thing about it.
Hell yeah. I don't think we ever said what your new project was called. It's Coppermoth, correct?
No, we have a new name for it. It's going to be called Subcell, and
That's why your Facebook has that weird URL. Okay, because I cannot tag you guys in groups for some reason, and so I was trying all the different ways to spell do your name, the different capitalizations and stuff, and then I was like, fuck it, let's just get the URL thing, and it was what you just said, son. What was it?
Subcell, yeah.
Yeah, and I tried to put that in, and I was like, this isn't even their name. What the heck? Okay, that makes so much sense now. Alrighty,
Yeah,
so that's the name we should be looking out for then.
Yeah, it wouldn't be us if it wasn't like super cryptic and poorly rolled out and hard to understand. So
we're going to try and really, we're going to probably leave all the Belie stuff on there, but since this is basically a continuation, like post Belie project, we're going to try and turn everything over and update it. And you'll still be able to go back and see all the old Belie stuff if you would like. But
Just
as
make a new
opposed
one.
to That we've considered that too.
I think that's what you should do. Archive it essentially.
Yeah, on Instagram and everything but Facebook. Facebook's the one place where we haven't really planned everything out yet. But as we're finding out, it's insanely important, especially for like this community. So, with the new projects rolling out, we plan to be very active on Facebook and engaging with the fans. Like, if people have messaged the Belie account and we haven't gotten back to you, just shoot us another message on there with the record and with doing this podcast. While trying to keep all the focus on this new project, we're gonna try and make the transition here with better communication on our end, and with the new project, try and stay like what Adam was saying. We want to have a lot of content and a lot of stuff to put out there when we make the transition. So whether it's going to be on a new page or not, we're planning to roll out with like a lot of cool stuff that will be very interactive, like with the fans. And I see a good opportunity for that specifically on Facebook. So we haven't been the most active so far, just with how busy we've been. But yeah, if you've tried to get a hold of us or you do have any, questions, related to Belie, just send us a message on there again, and either me or Adam will try and get back to you guys on that and try and do a better job of keeping in touch.
Hell yeah. Well, that's about all I had to talk about. Do you have anything else I want to bring up, or you want us to move on to the outro?
Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. We are going to be, we did find an original box when I was like moving stuff from my old house. I just found in storage a box of originally pressed EPs. A lot of people who, yeah, it's going to be sick. They're still sealed, barcode and everything, like literally like dug up out of the grave, like out of the archives. The original pressing, this is literally like the last box that I know of. We're going to be doing a cool hand numbered limited release of physical CD copies of the EP, the original first pressing, hand numbered, sealed, and that's hopefully going to be rolling out here within like the next month. We're going to be doing it 100% DIY, taking the orders and shipping it out ourselves, and hopefully using some of that money to put back into this new project and this first release with the new band with Subcell. So keep your eyes peeled on our Facebook. Like I said, no middleman. It's just us doing it. Super limited, like once they're gone, they're gone. But they are the original pressings of the EP, so we're pretty stoked about that. I thought they were all gone, and we have like one last box. So I'm not sure exactly how many they're going to be or how many are in there, but that's going to be coming within like the next month or so.
Ricky in chat is saying the vinyl should be here by July.
Hell yeah. Yeah, shout out everyone who bought the record. Shout out Secret Swarm. They've been working with some. You guys had like the glitter on, and they're doing a release for them. So it's cool to see like like all these people just strictly out of like you and Ricky, like all these people who are super passionate about this stuff. And it's definitely like inspired us to go really hard moving forward with this new stuff. And just it's made us feel really, really humble and really good, and really inspired to like do some new stuff. And hopefully if you were a fan of Belie, you'll like what we have to offer in this new project.
Hell yeah. So I don't need to tell you to listen to Belie My Burial. If you aren't listening to them, you're missing out. You guys are on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Bandcamp, all the streaming platforms. And you guys are somewhat active on the profiles, not super active though, right?
Yeah,
we'll answer questions and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, we're going to be making a big effort, especially in the transition, to get everything up to date. And like I said, bring some communication back with all the fans and supporters we know that we're kind of like an underground, like cult classic type band. And, you know, if it wasn't for all the fan support, especially after all this time, like, you know, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So it's always been, you know, for our supporters, and we always want to be putting stuff out and keeping in touch with people that, you know, I've heard so many cool stories about, like, you know, people that came to see us back in the day, or, you know, how they discovered us, or, you know, when they first heard of us, you know, so many cool stories. And for being a band that was never on a huge label, like, we really, you know, appreciate like the underground and this community. And, you know, now that we're older, we're kind of playing like catch up again with this new like resurgence. And it's just really cool to like be a part of it and to feel all the love and interest, you know, all this time later.
Yeah, I think the last thing I want to say is just, it's just super humbling to even like be having a conversation about this stuff. We were just like really taken aback at like the response to putting anything out, you know, at this juncture. So this time last year or whatever, if you would have, you know, told me I'd be having a conversation about, you know, Belie stuff, I would not think that we would be doing this. So thank you to everybody that like continues to like be interested in it, and to this new community that like is kind of discovering this stuff, or is at least interested in collecting it. Like, thank you for the support.
Hell yeah. As for me, drop my channel follows so you always know when I go live. You can also sub to get access to the interviews before they hit YouTube and access to some exclusive emotes. You can subscribe for free also by connecting Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube folks, if you enjoyed the video, please like it. Click the notification bell and don't forget to subscribe. It's a great way to support me for free. Check out my music, The Sound That Ends Creation, at thesoundthatinspiration.bandcamp.com. My next guest is Rhode Island-based mathcore band Dreamwell, who released a sick album back in February. Join us this Wednesday the 14th at 7 p.m. Central right here at twitch.tv/thecasttheendcreation for the live cast. Thanks for being here, guys. Hope you had a good time.
Dude, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, man.
Hell
We
yeah.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
And thank you guys for watching and listening.